Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunch with Linda. I am Linda Daniels, and you are now inside Northampton Wools. We apologize for being a little bit tardy today, but I and my daughter Adrian were at the Fiber Fest down in West Springfield this weekend, and that wrapped yesterday. So this morning I had to bring everything that we had brought down there back into the store. So Kate and I are like a little bit topsy-turvy with trying to get things back in stock, back in place, and figure out where to put some of the other things. So we're a little bit of a like, holy cow, all over the place. But we'll get it figured out. The store will get neatened up and put back together again. Anyway, welcome. I am glad you are here showing up today of all important days. We're almost there. We're almost there. Welcome to the first Monday in November. And now that the Fiber Fest for me is over, I can concentrate on the remaining month and the lead up to Christmas and help you with all of your knitting needs and desires and gifts. So it's time to really buckle up, settle in, and prepare for knitting season. At the Fiber Fest, it was an absolutely amazing weekend. They had an attendance record set on Saturday of just over 3,500 people. And it felt it. And it seemed like everybody came first thing in the morning because we were slammed. And it's huge. Adrian and I had a tiny little booth, just one of the single 10 by 10 booths. And we were towards the end, but it was filled. The Mallory building was filled with lots and lots and lots of yarn dyers, yarn sellers, and farm people who are busy out there raising sheep and alpaca and even some bunnies. If you went and had a chance to go into the animal area, you saw a couple of farms that had their little Angora rabbits there. Of course, several farms had their alpaca there, and one or two had their sheep there. All day, both Saturday and Sunday, they did some sheep shearing demonstrations, so you were able to see how the sheep are actually shorn. If you were a spinner, there was lots and lots of fleece for sale. And if you were a weaver, they even had some things there for weavers. Of course, tons of things for knitters. And I think just about everything was covered, from natural fibers to synthetics, from very, very thin to very, very bulky, and everything in between. And every kind of tool that you could possibly want was represented there as well. Northampton Wools brought a lot of the Emma Ball bags and little project bags, so it was fun to see how well they were received, including these little tins that we got with the hedgehog design. This is the artist is Eric Heyman, which is not Emma, but she was so inspired by him that she contracted with him for this design especially. And it says on the back, "Hedgehogs Pooting Around the Garden" is the name of the design. So we got these like breath mint size, I guess you would call them, tins, and then we got more of the little pocket tins that you slide for your stitch markers. Makes a great fun way to store stitch markers. And we got a number of the pouches and bags, including this little one. This one I love because those little scissors, it's all lined, those little scissors, and especially tapestry needles. Man, if you're like me, I can be sewing, cut the end, and lose the tapestry needle immediately. I swear to God, when I am gone, my family will probably find 3,000 tapestry needles. It's the one tool, the absolute one tool that I cannot live without. I can knit with chopsticks, but I can't sew with anything other than a tapestry needle. So even this little pouch is only $9. It is all cotton and is machine washable and has the Emma Ball tag on it. And of course, we got the mugs with the hedgehog on it as well.
Oh, so cute.
Isn't that so cute? With a little pattern on the handle. And again, these are bone china. The handle is just the right size. I love how comfortable that is to feel. And like I've told you before, the box is like an extra special gift for the whole thing. So we've got a lot of these. We are ready and willing to help put together a Christmas basket for you. Go ahead. You have a question, Kate?
We have someone watching from Arkansas.
Hi, Arkansas.
And Phyllis said your booth was beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much, Phyllis. It was so much fun to do. So it's continuing in the Fiberfest mode. Adrian, my daughter, has been dyeing yarn for a little bit, and she changed her name. She used to be Twisted Misfit Fibers, and she has decided instead on this Knitsomnia name, which I think is pretty appropriate because, as many of us know, there is something very soothing at 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't get back to sleep about getting up and knitting a little bit. So this is her new tag, and this yarn she dyed in both a DK and a sock weight, and this is the sock weight yarn. She also did a DK weight yarn, which I didn't grab. Oh, it's all, isn't it all right here?
Right.
Yeah, so it's all in a basket. She dyed the DK weight, and then she designed and knit a little cowl that takes just one skein. And this is a fairly simple double seed stitch, so it's 2 rows of knit 1, purl 1, and then you switch to purl 1, knit 1. And it's just the right size for right around your neck. And it's a merino superwash, so it feels really, really soft against your neck as well. And like with all cowls, it's pretty easy to lift up and just wear around your head like that. So we will have in the store all of the skeins that she dyed. It is a limited quantity because she didn't do tons and tons of it, but she did do some really fun, bright, or more subtle colors. So look for that the next time you are in the store. And this, of course, is her absolute favorite color, this teal.
That's a good one.
Almost turquoise. I love it. So she was pretty happy with the amount that she sold down there. Oh, Kate, I didn't even see this.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I love that one.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Very, very pretty. Well done, Adrian. You know, I end up being so focused down there on just making sure everything is set up, and my biggest worry was that the computer wouldn't work and the charge machine wouldn't go, and everything that in that instance ran incredibly smoothly. So I was really, really happy about that.
Oh, Kayla says, you're so beautiful in your Alpine Bloom sweater. You should talk about your sweater.
I'm going to, yes.
Sorry.
It's on the list. No. It's like I can't talk about everything all at once.
Come on, Linda, do
Yes,
it.
I know. This is one of my favorites that I finished last year. Alpine, it's actually called Autumn Alpine. It's in the Alpine Bloom family. Like a lot of designers now, she did she did a t-shirt first, then a hat, and then the sweater. And
The
it's
series.
Caitlin, I can't remember now, is it
Hunter.
Caitlin Hunter? Is a Caitlin Hunter design. And I did it with the Free Fiber shawl ball. It is a long color strand before it changes color. And what I was going to say is that at the Fiberfest, we saw so many sweaters, so many yoked sweaters with color, and so many yoked sweaters that people have chosen to use a multicolor yarn with instead of just 2 colors, or instead of adding a bunch of colors. So that's one of the reasons why I wore this today, because this is one of the sweaters that I saw a lot. The other one that I saw a lot is called Loom, and we have it done in the store in the Madeline Tosh Vintage in different colors, but I also wanted to point out that there is another new one, this Fiji. I showed this to you when it first came in. This would also add a lot of color to a yoked sweater without having to do a lot of work as far as adding different colors and then having to weave in all of those ends. And we've got Fiji in about 4 or 5 colors. Oops, this is another one.
I love that one.
This one is really pretty too. And then they sent us a sample of what the colors look like when they are knit. Now, this isn't really a true representation because this piece they do on a big machine and then they actually cut it. So you don't really get the sense of how long each color goes, but it goes for longer than this.
Oh, they like cut it into separate strips.
They cut it into strips so that they could send these strips to a bunch of different stores. That's the cut edge right there. So it probably goes for a longer time. Closer, maybe not quite as long as the Freya fiber does, but it does go long enough so that you'll get this nice color fade in whatever color work you're doing. I saw sweaters like Winter Dreams. I just looked up a few of them while people were walking around. That's a relatively new one by Ruta, R-U-T-A-S-A-B. The Thistlewood by Jen Stangas, and anything by her. You just pick one of her designs and you're golden. 2 of your favorite colors, make one of them a multicolor. And remember, when you do that, you want a really high contrast to really get the most effect out of the yarn. But Thistlewood is Jen's newest one. The Harvester sweater, which you will not find yet, it is a coming soon. It's in test right now, but I love the way the Harvester sweater looks. And then there's a real simple, relatively new cowl called Over the Rainbow cowl by Spruce Hill Knits. That's another one that with just 2 skeins of yarn, one of them being a multicolor, you will get a lot of bang for both your buck and the knitting time involved. It will really show all of these multicolors off, because sometimes people fall in love with these, but they don't really know A, what to do with it, and B, how it's going to turn out. And even though this is there to help you, I think it's a much better use of this multicolor to work with it against a solid color background. It really lets the color pop. You sort of lose, not that this isn't pretty or interesting or fun, but your eye doesn't pull out each of the individual colors. It doesn't really see it as a multicolor as much as a mishmash of color. So the next time you want to do a multicolor skein of yarn, think about doing it in a contrast situation. It doesn't have to be a whole sweater. There are lots of hats out there, tons and tons of cowls that you can use this kind of fiber for as well. So we saw lots and lots of sweaters. It was pretty impressive. And tons of shawls. I think if everybody took their shawl off and piled it up, it would have reached to the rafters. Everybody had on or was carrying some sort of shawl. And again, a lot of the really most effective shawls were simple garter stitch stripes, but done with contrasting colors. We were right next to On the Round, and she has a website if you want to look her yarn up. She does a beautiful job with colors in a very, very soft merino. But everybody in her booth kept going to a shawl that she had done that used just 2 colors in a simple garter stitch stripe. One of the simplest one is a Martina Bem pattern called Easy, E-A-S-Y, because it is easy. And basically it's garter stitch but in 2 directions. So you knit half of it in one direction and then the other half gets knit and attached as you go. That is a great way to use up those skeins of yarn that you just can't resist, or to use those 2 color work. I also wrote down that we saw a lot of old favorites like the Traveler shawl, the Hitchhiker. I mean,
wow.
these are oldies oldies but goodies, but man, they refresh them, and they are still so effective. If you pay any attention at all, you know that Klepotis, I hope I say that right, had a moment a few weeks ago where it was a big resurgence, and that was one of the very first patterns to actually have what we now call viral on Ravelry, because it just went through the roof. And then also the Boneyard shawl from Stephen West. I didn't even realize, Kate, you have it on.
It's pinned to me.
It is. We recommend that shawl a lot, especially for beginners, because it's so easy, number one, to knit. Number two, it's a basic triangular shape. And like I tell everyone, you can end it when you are out of yarn, or when you're sick of it, or when you're finally at the size you want it to be. You can just pop in.
Okay.
Guess what color it's in?
Well, this was a skein that was gifted to me by Linda from a fiber show. Let me get in the frame here. And has the garter on the edge.
And what makes the Boneyard shawl so fun is that every once in a while you have a little ridge row that just kind of adds a little bit of interest and breaks the monotony up of the stocking net stitch. But a really clear increase in the middle and on the ends just grows this shawl. And like I said, you can stop at any time, and it can be a kerchief, or like most one skein fingering weights will give you a decent neckerchief size like Kate has on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a couple of skeins of the same color, then you'll be able to make something that's a little bigger, more of a wraparound.
And if I was going to make it again, I would go up a needle so that my shawl was a little bigger.
And don't be afraid to do that. We talk so much all the time about gauge. I just had several conversations this weekend about gauge, and one this morning on the phone. And there is a class coming up. I'm going to talk about classes in a minute too. But gauge can make such a difference. And when you are knitting a shawl or scarf, it doesn't have to fit. It just has to make a beautiful, comfortable fabric. So you can use a needle that is nowhere near what the recommended needle on the label is. If it's recommending a size 4, you can take that baby right up to a size 8, knit faster, and still have a very drapey, comfortable, squishy, soft, wonderful fabric. So don't be afraid to play around with that. So the Fiberfest was a great success. It was really, really busy. It's always the first weekend of November. And I have to confess that Adrian and I started out first with, oh, do we want to do this next year? I mean, it's a lot of work. And it's harder for me to slug everything in and slug everything out, but we did it. And about an hour in, we were like, we're signing up for next year. So we're going to be there again, probably in the same spot, because I did do everything I needed to do to secure our spot. And we learned a lot about what we want to bring and have available to people there. So same weekend next year, really well attended. They do a great job with setting up, and we were really very happy with how the entire process went. I saw a lot of old friends and made some new ones, but it was so wonderful to hear from those of you that stopped by to say hello, to say, it was great to hear people say, oh, I know Northampton Wool's, I shop there all the time. And it was also incredibly touching for me to hear stories from people. I was telling Kate, I had one woman who came in and said that she was so happy that when she found out that I was going to be there, and she was hoping that she would catch me in the booth, that she had learned to knit at Northampton Wool's with me at this table almost 30 years ago. And she had come to class to learn just after a very horrible miscarriage and needed some sanity in her life. But she was such a tight knitter that she could barely get the stitches off of the needle. And this is a quote. She said, "You wrapped my fingers with Band-Aids so that I could push the stitches off the needle. And eventually I was able to knit loosely enough so that I didn't need the Band-Aids anymore.
Wow.
She literally told me that she thought knitting saved her life. That's not the end of the story, because she had on a gorgeous cowl and a hand knit sweater, and she now works at Bartlett Yarns. So she not only learned to knit, but she let knitting move her life in a completely different direction. And it
Gives me
on the
chills.
one hand, it made me feel ancient, but on the other hand, I was like, wow, you hear me talk all the time about how important knitting is in those of us who do knit and recognize it as part of our life. But man, it touches people in so many different ways. She wasn't the only person that spoke with me. There were several other people that came up and told me similar stories, and I am so very grateful to them for sharing those stories with me, because like I said to one of them, that is my job. That is what knitting means to me, and that is what I want to be able to share with all of you. It's not always about selling the yarn. It's making sure you understand how great knitting is and how it can change your life. It really and truly can. Or at least bring you some peace, hopefully, in your life. So, lots of sweaters, lots of shawls, a great time at the Fiber Fest. We'll be there again next year. Same place, same date. So if you didn't make it this year, hopefully you can pencil that in on your calendar for next year and make sure you have a chance to get there. It's a very manageable show. That's the other thing. We're not talking Rhinebeck crazy. We're talking about a series of aisles. It's all indoors that you can walk in just a couple of hours and really have a good idea of what people in the fiber world are up to nowadays. I was able to put together a new class schedule. I will be sending an email out tomorrow for those of you that are on our email list, but I did have it there for some people to take. Look at all those classes. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So, and this is really, there's a couple of classes that Shelley will be doing and a couple of classes that Lucille will be doing, but the majority of these are classes that I will be teaching. So we will be adding even more classes in February, because February is a little bit thin right now. But the email tomorrow will tell you in more detail about what these classes are. One of them is going to be a steeking class, where you learn how to cut your knitting. It's a 2-session class, and we're going to be making a small coffee cup kind of cozy. It's a class that I've done before, and instead of having you knit an entire sweater, we're going to show you all the things you need to know about how to make a steek, how to cut it, and how to treat the ends in just 2 classes. We're going to do a little fun knit or crochet ornament cover just before Christmas, so you have time to make a cute little hostess gift. I am currently 3/4 of the way through the Mossblossom Cowl. That's by Wool & Pine, and I wanted to do that as a class as well, because you get a great lesson in some simple lace if you have not tried lace, and how to make a bobble. I'm going to teach about 6 different ways to make a bobble. And then this little cowl, it's not so little, has a very unique way of finishing and wearing. So if you check out Mossblossom Cowl by Wool & Pine, you'll see what I mean, because they have a great little video right on Ravelry that shows how they constructed it and how they're wearing it. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to do a quick little how to use a color wheel and why you should or might want to. And then the Harvester sweater again. It's a design that I love. It's not available yet, but as soon as it comes out of test, I'll put a picture of that up on the website. I'm going to do another ranunculus class. And then the Autumn Glow blanket. Take a look at that. That is a blanket that's put together in squares that are knit from the inside out. It's a pretty classic but fun pattern. The class will basically teach you how to make one square, and then you will be off and running and can make as many squares and make as big a blanket as you want. And then the one other class that I'm going to do is the Mika Vest, and I got a number of people at the show that told me they want to have me teach the cloud sweater again. That class starts this Friday and it is sold out. And I did try to schedule a second one, but the time didn't work for anybody. So I will be scheduling the cloud sweater again later on, probably in February when we have some more time. So in putting away things, I stopped in here very quickly on Friday to pick up a couple of things that we had not been able to fit in the car. And when I came in, there was a very young girl with her dad who was wandering around the store, and she picked up one of the crocheted stuffed chickens that I had made and asked me how much it was. And when I told her, I heard her dad, because I then went off doing what I needed to do, I heard her dad talk to her about the price and if she was willing to take the money out of her own bank account to pay for it. And I think she kind of hemmed and hawed, and when I left, she had put the chicken back and had picked up a skein of yarn. When Kate and I were sitting at the table today, we are looking at the shelves back here, and Kate says, "What is that?" And we go over and we see this little note that is attached to the bin. And the note says, "It is Ava, not my granddaughter. This is Ava, who's about probably 6 or 7. I love knitting. I came here on 11/1/24.
She wanted us to know.
She has made her
Here,
mark.
hold it closer.
And I think it might actually say, "I love you knitting," or "I love your."
It does. It's a U in the middle.
There's a little U in the middle.
You can't even explain what it means. It means so much. It means so much.
Just adorable. We have to frame that.
Yeah, we will. We will. So no matter when you find it,
Yes.
knitting is powerful.
What a cute surprise.
Oh, it really was.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to end today with go knit something because knitting may not be enough.
True.
It may take some pacing, some nail biting, and maybe just a sleeping aid to get through tomorrow. And in thinking about what tomorrow means, I had a ton of paragraphs in my head. And so I'm just going to wing it now. I am very much a part of that peace, love, and rock and roll generation. I was a junior in high school in 1968 when both Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated. I lived through and watched Kent State happen. And even though my now husband served in Vietnam, I participated in anti-war demonstrations as well. My generation learned very quickly how to make their voices heard. We participated and watched, and I think helped make lots of big changes in our world, not the least of which was lowering the voting age to 18. And it feels very much like, why do we have to fight those fights again?
Mm-hmm.
But coming from that generation, I feel very strongly about helping my grandchildren's generation, the peace, love, and save the earth, in finding their voice and showing them what that means. I knew I didn't want to tell those stories together.
I know, it got you going, but it's important. Yeah.
But I'm willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you are too. This is one of those years when, and I hope maybe we all learn a lesson from this, that no matter what year it is, no matter who's running, this is what America needs to be, a place where every single person who can should vote. It doesn't matter what you believe. It just means that you should exercise your right, continue to show the younger generations how important that is. It's not meaningless. It is something that we need to take seriously and to really and truly do. And I thought a lot about my neighborhood, because there are red signs and there are blue signs in my neighborhood, but it's a neighborhood. We watch out for each other. We help each other. We do everything that we can together to make our neighborhood safe and comfortable and a place where we all want to live. And you may not know, but I live in the house that I grew up in. So for 60 years, my house has been in my family. And it's one of those neighborhoods where every other house in the neighborhood is identified by the people who used to live there when I was growing up, even though now many of my parents' generation have moved on to the higher plane and many of my generation have moved out of state. But it doesn't matter. We're a community, and building that community is important to us. And that's the world I want to live in. So tomorrow when I go to vote, I will be voting for Kamala Harris, because that's the place I want to be. When I cast my vote for her, that doesn't make me an enemy, and it doesn't make me evil. It makes me an American.
Dale is sending you hugs. She said thank you for sharing.
So if you haven't voted already, go vote tomorrow.